Okay, Watchman of Ephraim here, doing a video, a prophecy update on Trump, Israel, Syria, overall, in the background, the major theme, the Damascus Oracle, which must be fulfilled. Damascus must cease to be a city. It did in part back in 732 BC when the Assyrians sacked the city, but it was not totally destroyed. It only happened in part. Anyways, I just get on and I do these. I don't really write anything down. Well, a lot of times I do, but sometimes I don't. Anyways, a lot of things you may have been hearing them in the news about how Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, are growing apart. That Donald Trump has shut him out, has cut him off as far as communications. Concerning, in Gaza, Trump wants the war in Gaza to be wrapped up, whereas Netanyahu wants it to continue completely and be completed only when Hamas is completely removed. Trump is negotiating with the Iranians concerning a nuclear deal, concerning their nuclear, the production of nuclear material for an atomic bomb. Israel wants the United States and Israel. Netanyahu wants to bomb their nuclear facilities and their nuclear development sites. Trump and his administration, people like Tulsi Gabbard and their cabinet, and Vice President Vance, and they are isolationists. They have convinced Trump that's not the way to go. They don't want any part in that, so they're negotiating. They're going around Israel. This whirlwind tour of the Middle East that Trump is doing right now, making deals with the Saudis and Qatar, nations like that. It's supposed to be like $1 trillion defense pacts or the selling arms to these nations and business deals and this and that. Trump's view is America first. And if Israel doesn't play a role in that, which is actually the nation of Judah, the fourth son of Jacob, well, not in American interests. And this person here for several years, and I have to admit, I'm getting fatigued. And not so much this, but there's something else that's just weighing me completely down. These two nations, if I might pull up, here's the old kingdom. Here's Judah down here. Judah, Jews. And here is Ephraim. What does this tribe here look like? If you look, looks like New England, Florida. If you bring in Dan, especially 36 million Irish in the United States, the tribe of Dan, and only 6 million in Ireland. Interesting. You almost have like the Gulf of Mexico here and the California coast, and that the thing that has been is what will be the multitude of nations. That which is done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. The thing that has been is what will be. If I may just go over here, I just thought of this verse, these verses here, Luke 16, 15, 17. He said to them, let me just go on to verse 16. I'm sorry. I've been awake since like 1:30 this morning. The law and the prophets were proclaimed until John. Since that time, the good news of the kingdom of God is preached. It is easier for heaven and earth to disappear than one least stroke of a pen to drop out of the law, the Torah. And the prophecies of Ephraim came from the Torah, but I want you to hone in here. The law, notice, and the prophets were until John. So we're not going to get as far as prophecies concerning the nations. You're not going to get really anything new. The Hebraic mindset, the Bible is a small forerunner and then an end time fulfillment, or a shadow type and then an end time fulfillment, if you want to go that route. So there's nothing new that's going to be done under the sun. Same nations. A lot of these nations don't know who they are, including the United States, which this person has proclaimed as a witness that we are Ephraim, the multitude, the greatest nation to be prophesied ever in the Bible. We have the name Israel. Let my name be named on them and on the lads. The names of my father, Abraham, Isaac, and of course Israel. Jacob put his name on the two lads, Ephraim and Manasseh. Manasseh, Great Britain, and the a handful of nations that came out of Great Britain that form the Commonwealth. But anyways, what happened here? What's going on? I have been saying for years that somehow, some way, I don't know if I can center this article, but somehow, some way, Syria and the United States must form an alliance again. They did before. They did in the 730s, 740s. 730s, 740s. They formed an alliance against Judah, and they tried to overthrow Judah. And Judah cried out, Ahaz, to the king of Assyria, come save me, help me. That is going to happen again. All right, the thing that has been, you can read that in Isaiah 7, Isaiah 17, 2 Kings like 17, 18, 2 Kings 17, 18, in those areas. I not polished up because of my memory is not the best. But anyways, notice Trump meets Syria's al-Sharaa, eyes normalization of ties with Damascus. Notice that. Iran is out. Russia is out. This new president of Syria that overthrew Assad, of which we branded Syria a terrorist organization, a terrorist state. Since 1979, we have not had diplomatic relations with this country. They were always in the Soviet satellite. And an enemy of Israel, going to having wars with them from the time Israel was once again made a nation, or Judah once again made a nation. So here, notice, after all those years, over 40 years, U.S. President urges Syria interim president to establish ties with Israel, says U.S. will drop all sanctions on Damascus. But notice, normalization of ties with Damascus. Okay. This guy's, he wants to build a Trump Tower in Damascus. He's trying to get him to lift sanctions because we are still the world reserve currency, and we can cut nations off, put sanctions on them, and restrict them concerning trade and so on and so forth, because it goes in the U.S. dollar. Trump says Washington is considering the normalization of ties with Damascus. If we are Ephraim, and we are Ephraim, this man witnesses this. We are being set up, and many Americans are becoming more anti-Israel. Don't get me wrong. Israel, Judah, here is a wicked nation. It's going to be judged as far as the day of as far as Jacob's trouble. The Great Tribulation. I'm not, a traditional, an orthodox guy. Okay. This nation and the nation of Ephraim, the United States, is going to be judged along with Judah. They're wicked. All right. So he met with the Syrian interim president al-Shara in the first such encounter between the two nations in 25 years. Trump made the announcement on Wednesday at a meeting with Gulf Cooperation Council leaders in Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. All right. This is what I want you to keep attention on. Normalization of ties with Damascus. Somehow, some way, we are going to form an alliance with Damascus and come against our older brother, Judah. Okay, Ephraim, separate from his brothers, Manasseh, United States, over here, Syria, gonna come against Judah. Okay, we're going to become enemies with our brother Judah again. Isaiah 9:21, Ephraim against Manasseh, Manasseh against Ephraim, together they shall be against Judah. Zechariah 11, I do believe verse 15 through somewhere in there. My memory's so bad. All right. I will break the brotherhood of Judah and Israel. Okay. This guy, in the end, it's America first. Money. Restoring the U.S. economy. Israel, Judah is a dependent nation on the United States. They require $4 billion a year in economic aid. And Trump brought this up to Netanyahu in April when Netanyahu came to Washington and had a meeting with Trump. He said he wanted the sanctions. Tariffs. We put tariffs on Israel because they have tariffs on our goods. He wanted them to drop it. He said, no. He goes, you guys get $4 billion in aid from us, on top of all the military aid. Let me just go to this article here. Netanyahu says Israel should wean itself off U.S. military aid while fighting an American-funded war in Gaza. Notice that. Cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed Israel's long-standing, reliance on American security assistance. We received close to $4 billion for weapons. We'll get more than that. I think we'll reach a point where we wean ourselves off it. The problem is they don't have their economy. This is why Trump's going to the Arab nations too, because oil. If we become enemies, who are they going to cry out to? Who did Judah cry out to in ancient times from the Torah and the prophets? Assyria. And you can read that in like 2 Kings 16 through 18 in that general area. What has been is going to be again. Isaiah chapter 7. I haven't read this in a long time. Shadows here. Shadows and types. When Ahaz, son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, an evil king, Ahaz, even burned his son in the fire. The son of Uzziah was king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram, that's Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, or Ephraim. The Judah and Ephraim were split. The kingdoms were split at this time. Marched up to fight against Jerusalem, but they could not overpower it. Now the house of David was told, Aram has allied itself with Ephraim. This is the Syrio-Ephraim alliance here. Once again, look. Trump meets Syria's Shirah's normalization of ties with Damascus. If indeed we are Ephraim, and I believe we are Ephraim, this is our death sentence. This is being hailed. Of course, we don't know who we are as a nation. It's being hailed by our leaders and by a lot of the news pundits and this and that. But we're being set up to be destroyed in the Damascus Oracle. So the hearts of Ahaz and his people were shaken as the trees of the forest are shaken by the wind. Okay, so this alliance is going to come against Judah again in the future. Keep an eye on Trump. He doesn't care in the end. America first. He's going around. He's supposedly cut Netanyahu off because he's not going to live. He supposedly said Netanyahu is arrogant. Trump's not. Trump he believes that he's the CEO of the world, and he just he's going to dictate everything to all these nations. Well, it's not going to happen in the end. This is why the EU and Europe and the United States are growing apart. And who's the nation in Europe Trump picks on the most? Germany. Well, let's see how it plays out. Then Yahweh said to Isaiah, "Go out, you and your son Jashub, to meet Ahaz at the end of the aqueduct of the upper pool on the road to the launderer's field. Say to him, be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood, because of the fierce anger of Rezin and Aram and the son of Remaliah. Aram, Ephraim, and Remaliah's son, that's Pekah, have plotted your ruin, saying, let us invade Judah." Notice that. "Let us tear it apart and divide it among ourselves, and make the son of Tabeel," that's some kind of a puppet they wanted to put in, a general in Judah, a puppet they wanted to put in as king. Yet this is what the sovereign Lord says. "It will not take place, it will not happen, for the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is only Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be too shattered to be a people." Okay, this is a lot of these. This was fulfilled in part. Again, Yahweh spoke to Ahaz, "Ask Yahweh your God for a sign, whether in the deepest depths or in the highest heights." But Ahaz said, "I will not ask, I will not put the Lord to the test." He was a hypocrite. Then Isaiah said he was an evil king. Then Isaiah said, "Hear now, you house of David. Is it not enough to try the patience of humans? Will you then?" I think Netanyahu is actually a descendant. He's related to David. I have to look that up. Will you try the patience of my God also? Therefore Yahweh himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call his name Emmanuel. Now, this is going to be the commission, I believe, of the two witnesses in Jerusalem, to turn the inhabitants of Jerusalem to the Messiah. They don't believe in Yeshua as their Messiah. They're going to cause them to turn to the one concerning whom they have pierced. Yeshua himself said, you will never see my face again unless you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. Or add a little bit more in Psalm 118, verse 25, 26, around that area. Hoshiana, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. In the Hebrew, Hosanna, Hoshiana, is a cry, a plea for help. All right. Okay, so this was pulled, this prophecy concerning, it's controversial. A son of Hezekiah, the birth of Hezekiah, or one of the sons of Isaiah. All right, he will be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of the two kings you dread will be laid waste. This is the Damascus oracle. The Lord Yahweh will bring on you and on your people and on the house of your father a time unlike any since Ephraim broke away from Judah. Keep that in mind. Trump's article here, Financial Times. Trump's patience with Netanyahu is running out. He's a different president. He doesn't want to kowtow anymore to whatever Israel, Judah, these leaders want from them. He doesn't want to bomb Iran. He doesn't want the Gaza war to continue. Netanyahu communicated somehow to him, we recommend you don't lift the sanctions on Syria. Well, he did. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see how it continues to unfold. The U.S. is pursuing its own objectives in cutting Israel out of deal-making with Iran and Saudi Arabia. They've cut them completely out. Okay. Well, they've urged Syria to join the Abraham Accords, but Trump's going to do what he's going to do, what's good for America. And if Judah, Israel doesn't fit in, well, will Netanyahu, Israel, anger this man to the point where he will completely cut them off of U.S. aid, of U.S. Supplying them with jets, things they need for their defense? Will Judah once again cry out to the king of Assyria for help? There will be a beast that will form in the last days that will be diverse from all its other, this is what I am saying here, mostly in alignment of the Roman Catholic nations. Why is it going to be more diverse? There's a big trade pact with Latin America that was approved. They're going to go around Trump in the United States. All right? Just keep this in mind. 600 million Roman Catholics. Okay, and then Europe. Europa. The woman riding the beast. Just keep that in mind. Okay? Normalizing ties with Damascus. Going to be our destruction. Trump patience with Netanyahu. Israel running out. We'll see what happens. One thing about this guy is he's just so unpredictable. Day to day. Could be something different. Okay? Pursuing its own objectives and cutting Israel out. All right? See how it unfolds. He's not going to let the Jewish state, which are actually our brother, Judah, one of 12 sons, 13, dictate to them anymore. So he's just not news arrogant. All right. So there's your update. Donald Trump, last president of the USA. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.